Hi, this is Carlos Heredia from YourGreatBusiness.com. And in this video, I'm going to explain some of the challenges that you might experience as the owner of an early stage startup company trying to raise money from equity investors. And when I talk about an equity financing or an equity investment, I'm referring to your company, you selling shares of your company to investors in exchange for cash investment. And the concepts that we're going to discuss in the video apply equally to a more simple friends and family common stock round up to a more complicated venture capital financing that involves preferred stock and a lot more bells and whistles. So let's lay down some of the assumptions that we'll be using in this video. First, you're the sole owner of your company. You own 100% of the shares, 2 million shares as is shown here. And you want to take in $500,000 from investors. Okay. To keep it simple, we've assumed that there's no stock option pool, there's no shares reserved for future stock option grants. You're the sole owner, you have 2 million shares, there are no other shareholders. So you're trying to raise $500,000, $500,000 from equity investors. You want to give them shares and get cash back equal to a total of $500,000. So one of the key issues that you'll need to negotiate with the investors is what is the value of your company? What's the pre-money valuation of your company before their investment comes in the door and you have this desired cash of $500,000? Now, just want to emphasize that valuation is a key issue in all equity financings, but it's not the only issue. And we're focused on this issue for purposes of highlighting some of the challenges and the differences between equity financings and debt financings, but it's not the only issue, but it certainly is one of the major issues that you'll need to wrestle to the ground. So you're the sole owner, you've been developing this company, you think you've got something great going, and so let's say that you believe that your company is worth $2 million before this investment of $500,000 comes in. So you own 100% of the company right now, and if you set your pre-money valuation, you as the owner believe that it's worth a good chunk of money, what happens to your ownership pie when you take in $500,000? So by taking in $500,000 on a pre-money valuation base of $2 million, you will need to give up 20% of your company. So the new investors, in exchange for their investment of $500,000, they will own shares down below here, 500,000 shares, which will equal 20% of your company. So as an early stage company, you've been working on this, you need $500,000. You're sure you're giving up a big chunk of the company, but under these circumstances, perhaps it's acceptable to you and you're willing to part with 20% of your company in exchange for $500,000. So that's great. But this is a negotiation and you have investors on the other side of the table, and they may have a completely different perspective as to what the pre-money valuation, what the value of your company before their investment, they may have a completely different perspective as to what it is. So in this case, let's say that the investors who are putting in $500,000 believe that your company is worth $750,000. So remember, at a $2 million valuation, they would own 20% of the company, but at $750,000, they would wind up owning twice as much. They would jump from 20% to 40% of the company. So instead of getting 500,000 shares down here, they get over 1.3 million shares, a number of shares that would give them 40% of your company. And you may not like that. You're thinking, if in the future you do a few more rounds of financing, your 60% may drop down to 30%, 20%, and all of that initial hard work and work along the way, you may not have the same desire to push through it all if you're getting diluted down significantly such that you own a smaller piece of the ownership pie, especially after a few more rounds of financing. And to drive home the point, let's say the investors believe that your company is worth not 750 but 500,000. And in that case, not surprisingly, after this initial investment, they would put in $500,000 and end up owning the same amount of shares as you do and walk away with 50% of your company. So, and that may not be acceptable to you. And so if you and the investors can't reach agreement, some acceptable middle ground as to what the valuation, pre-money valuation of your company will be, then you may not be able to get the deal done. So what you might consider is some type of debt investment. And a very common debt investment that's used for early stage companies and bypasses this whole pre-money valuation question is a convertible note financing. And it starts off as a debt investment, and if certain conditions are met in the future, then it may switch into shares of stock. But essentially what you're doing is you're sidestepping this valuation question of whether your company is worth $2 million or whether it's worth $500,000. So that's one alternative that you can consider using. So at this point, it's your turn. In the comment box below, I would appreciate very much if you've done an equity investment before, if you can share with your fellow entrepreneurs how you resolve some of the challenges and what negotiation tactics you may have used, and any other tips regarding equity financings certainly would be welcomed. Also, if you like the format of this simple valuation spreadsheet, again, it also includes a cell to enter the stock option pool numbers. If you like the format and find this useful, you can download a copy of this in Excel format and use it for purposes of the financings that you're structuring and negotiating. So I appreciate you taking the time to listen to this video, and I wish you all the success to your great business. Thank you.